This is the Unit 3.5 Test Corrections video. Question number 1. In one version of a trail mix, there are 5 cups of peanuts mixed with 2 cups of raisins. So I like to make a ratio table. So I'm going to have peanuts and raisins and 5 and 2. In another kind of trail mix, there are 7 cups of peanuts mixed with 3 cups of raisins. So I know that in order for ratios to be equivalent, I have to have a constant proportionality. And the constant proportionality is y divided by x. So the constant proportionality for this table is 2 divided by 5. The constant proportionality for this table is 3 divided by 7. So I can check that. 2 divided by 5, that gives me 4/10. So the constant proportionality for this table is 4/10. And then 3 divided by 7, 7 is 0.428, Because they do not have the same constant proportionality, these ratios are not equivalent. So the first answer should have been false. Next one. When you mix 2 colors of paint in equivalent ratios, that means that these do have a constant proportionality. The resulting color is always the same shade of green. Complete the table below. So once again, I'm going to find my constant proportionality by doing y divided by x. So 10 divided by 2 gives me 5. So that means to move across this table, I'm going to be multiplying by 5, multiplying by 5, multiplying by 5. And I think there's another one on the next page. Okay. So when I go from here to here, 2 times 5 is 10. And 1 times 5, of course, is 5. And I do not know what this value is, but I would multiply to go here. So I'm going to go in the opposite direction. So the inverse operation of multiplication is division. So 30 divided by 5 is 6. And 6 times 5 is 30 to check myself. So the table should have had a 5 and a 6 in it. The next question says, what is the constant of proportionality? Well, since I constantly multiplied to get from my left column to my right column by 5, my constant of proportionality was 5. A snow is falling steadily in Syracuse, New York. After 2 hours, 4 inches of snow has fallen. So here's my information. That's what they've given me. 2 hours, 4 inches of snow. So I need to find my constant of proportionality. My constant of proportionality is y divided by x. So 4 divided by 2 equals 2. So to get across this table, I'm multiplying each of the numbers in this column by 2. So 2 times 2 is 4 rather. 1 times 2 is 2. 6.5 times 2 is 13. And once again, if I'm multiplying to go to the right, I'm going to be dividing to go to the left. So for this one, I could have had a bunch of different answers. I could have had 5/10. I could have had 1/2. And I could have had 30 minutes. Okay. The next one. If the snow continues to fall at this rate, how many inches would you expect after 6.5 hours? You've got it in your chart, so it was 13. Write an equation that gives the amount of snow y that has fallen after x hours at this rate. So I'm going to label my columns as x and y. I'm going to put x down here and over here. So I know that to get from this column to this column, I'm constantly multiplying by 2. So to get from here to here, I'm going to multiply by 2. So x times 2 is 2x. So there's my equation. Y, this column, is equal to 2x. And then it says, how many inches will fall in 24 hours if it continues to fall at this rate? So I could add 24 to my table. Put that right here. And how do I get from one side to the other? Multiply by 2. So double of 24 is 48. Question number 4. A car is traveling down a highway at a constant speed, described by the equation d equals 65t, where d represents the distance, and the car travels at this speed in t hours. What is the constant of proportionality for this situation? So if I look at my equation right here, d equals 65t, it is always y equals kx in a proportional equation. So the k is your constant of proportionality. So the 65 is your constant of proportionality. So that's what it is. What does it represent? So there are a bunch of different answers. It represents the speed. It represents distance over time. It represents miles per hour, all of those things. How many miles does the car travel in 1.5 hours? So once again, I really like a T-chart, so I'm going to make my ratio table. I'm going to put T and D. My time is 1 hour. I can go 65 miles. So if I'm going 1.5 hours, I'm going to multiply 1.5 by 65. So 1.5 times 65 equals 97.5. So I can go 97.5 miles in that amount of time. How long does it take the car to travel 26 miles? So the 26 is going to go under this column. So 26. So to get from the left to the right, I was multiplying by 65. So to get from the right to the left, I'm going to divide by 65. So my answer is 26/65, which when I divide it, 26 divided by 65, that's equal to 4/10, or I can divide this out and I would get 2 over 5 if I divided each of these by 13, 2/5. Or some people change this to minutes, and 4/10 of an hour is equal to 24 minutes. So possible answers here were 24 if you did minutes, 2/5 if you did a fraction, and 4/10 if you did a decimal. All right, Elena has some bottles of water that each, that means that's one bottle, holds 17 fluid ounces. Write an equation that relates the number of bottles of water to the total volume of water. So I'm going to make a ratio table again. So I've got B and W. I've got one bottle holds 17 ounces. And if I go from here, if I say, how do I get across this table, it is going to be, if this is B, this is 17 times B. So how am I getting from here to here? Constant proportionality. Y divided by X. 17 divided by 1 is 17. So my equation would be W equals 17B. Now remember, there are always two constants of proportionality for every situation. So had I switched these and done it this way, I would have had 17 and 1, and then I want to make this be a 1, so I would divide by 17 and divide by 17 here, so I would have 1/17. W is equal to 1/17 W, so 17th. So B could be equal to 1/17 W, or W divided by 17, because multiplying by a 17th is the same thing as dividing by 17. So both of these would be correct. Once again, Elena has some bottles of water that hold this much. How much is she? Has 51 bottles. So we're going to put the 51 here. And I know to get from here to here, I need to take however many bottles I have and multiply it by 17. So 51 times 17 equals, that's a little hard to see, but it's 867. For question 7, same ratio table, keep going. And here we have 51 ounces of water. So the water would go here. To go from the left to the right, I multiplied by 17. So now to go from the right to the left, I'm going to divide by 17. So 51 divided by 17, that equals 3. So she would have 3 bottles of water that would hold that amount. Okay, next one. Here's a table that represents the cost of buying different amounts of apples. The relationship between the cost and the apples is proportional. Find the missing values in the table. So I'm going to do, once again, y divided by x. So 3 divided by 12. which is, when I simplify it by factoring a 3 out of both, 1 divided 1/4. So, if I'm going from here to here, I am multiplying by a 1/4 or multiplying by 0.25, whoops. Right, that's a 1/4. Or dividing by 4, right? To get from here to here, I'm dividing by 4. So 20 divided by 4 gives me 5. 1 divided by 4 is 1/4 or 25 hundredths. So either of those are okay. And then if I'm dividing by 4 to go this way, I'm going to multiply by 4 to go this way. So 10 times 4, of course, is 40. So that would be 40 apples. The constant of proportionality, or price per apple, 25 cents. So you're going to pay a quarter for each of those apples. Next one. Mr. Cannon pays $22,200 a year for his rent. His monthly payment is the same every month. Write an equation that represents the amount he pays per month if M equals month and C equals the cost per year. So I'm going to have months and cost. I know that in 12 months he pays $22,200. So to figure out the cost per month, I'm going to divide both sides by 12. So 1 is 1,850. So 1 month, that's how much he pays. So I can eliminate this one and I can eliminate that one. So I know it's going to be this one or that one. If I put the M here and I multiply to go across, I say 1850M. So there it is. C equals the cost is equal to $1,850 per month. So 1 month I pay $1,850, 12 months I pay $2,200. Erica can bike 16 2/3 miles in 2 4/9 hours. How fast does she go per hour? So 16 2/3 is miles, and 2 4/9 is hours. I want to know about 1 hour. So what I'm going to do is I need to divide this by 2 4/9, which means I need to divide this by 2 4/9. So I'm going to divide 16 2/3 divided by 2 4/9. So just by looking at it, I know just here that 16 divided by 2 is going to be 8. So this one's out and this one's out. But I'm not sure about which of these might be my answer because these are fractions associated with this. So I'm going to use my calculator. I'm going to say 16 2/3, I keep hitting this ABC key, divided by 2 4/9 equals 6 9/11. So my answer is this first choice here. Next one. The table below shows how much a store charges for a certain number of pencils. So to get 5 pencils, I pay $1.05. To get 7 pencils, I pay $1.47, etc. So my constant of proportionality is y divided by x, or in this case, the cost divided by the number of pencils. So $1.05 divided by 5 is 21 cents. So that means that for 1 pencil, I am going to pay 21 cents. So, what equation could you use to calculate the cost of any number of pencils? So, to get from here, to get from P to this column, I'm going to have 21P. So my equation is C equals 21P. All right, and then the final question. Andy earns $57.60 in 8 hours. So we've got hours and dollars. We've got 8 and 57.60. And then, that's Andy. And then Pete works for 12 hours and he earns $90. Whoops, $90. So I'm going to divide the amount of money that I make divided by the number of hours so I can find out how much for one. So $57.60 divided by 8 is $7.20. And 90 divided by 12 is $7.50. So, who makes more? Pete. Okay, how much more? Well, Andy makes $7.20, Pete makes $7.50, so Pete by 30 cents.